Hi, I'm Debbie from Simply Special Crafts. Today we're delighted to bring you the Twilight Kingdom kit from Hunkydory. This is the Twilight Kingdom luxury card kit from Hunkydory. And I don't remember ever having a kit that the kids that are around here all the time, we have a house full of kids all the time, ever got as enthusiastic about as they have about this one. They were literally arguing over who was putting dibs on which finished cards. So that was nice to see that this was going to be a kit they all admired. You get this nice idea sheet. It has, about 9 samples on the front, 3 more on the back, and then it has some cursory instructions to the shadow box card kit. As is normally the case, they can be a little confusing, so we're actually going to do one of those on camera so you can see how to put that kit together. Before we get going here, though, I want to show you some of the supplies that we used in putting our kit together. Of course, we had the Twilight Kingdom luxury kit that I've already shown you. We used a lot, and you'll see what I mean by a lot of black mirror board in making these cards. For the 56 cards that Brittany and I got when we put this kit together, we used 2 packs of black mirror. So be advised, this is a really good supply to get with your kit. We have a limited supply of the Twilight Kingdom Adorable Scoreable Selection cardstock. What we have won't last, and you certainly could use regular Adorable Scoreable solid sheets. But for those of you who are fortunate enough to get it, this is really, really pretty cardstock. I recommend it for those of you who can get it. Of course, we have the Twilight Kingdom inserts for cards. And we used these. In fact, we used all that we had of these. And then we have the Dusk to Dawn foiled acetate. And you'll see several examples today about how we use the acetate. For those of you who purchased it with our Christmas kit, we actually used the Tide Holly embossing folder. It was handy. We had it right here. And it's just a really nice background pattern. So we used the Tide Holly embossing folder. Many of you will have. Of course, we used our Easy Tear tape. We used a couple of different widths of the Hunkydory red liner tape. I'm actually going to use this in the card demo that we're doing. We used the Midnight Black glitter from Hunkydory. This is really beautiful. And we used the Twilight Kingdom, Little Book of Twilight Kingdom. I strongly, strongly recommend this. The cards in this kit are actually, I think, even more vibrant in the little book than they are on the topper sheets. Really, really beautiful. We used some double stick Dazzle butterflies, and I'll show you those and how we've used them. And I didn't actually use the stamps, but I did want to point out that we have 3 different packs of For the Love of Stamps by Hunkydory in the Twilight Kingdom series. This happens to be the one with the castle called Once Upon a Time. There's also one with a dragon, and there's another with fairies. Those are sold out right now, but we expect to have them back within the next week or so. So look for the stamps because they're a lot of fun. We used some glue dots, and of course I used my trusty extra sharp scissors. These happen to be cutter bees, and we have those in the store. So let's take a look and make some specialty cards. We'll start by showing you the supplies that are used in the specialty card kit that's included with Twilight Kingdom. Here's our little box cards. This is so often the case with Hunkydory die cutting. They're trying to fall out of the sheets already because it's really well die cut. A beautiful cat. We have some unicorns. I'll show you this in a minute. Oops, some upside down dragons. Those pretty. Oh my gosh. We have the castle. And we have the stag. So pretty. You also get this beautiful foiled acetate. Here's the cat and the stag. The unicorn with the princess and the dragon. We've got just some little twinkly stars. And we have the castle with the fairies. Very pretty. Let's see what we're going to make out of those. Here's the little box card. And you can see it's actually dimensional in the back layer here. We have the moon. Then we've put in the unicorn. Then we've put in a piece of acetate on the top. It's all covered by this pretty frame. And have a magical day. We've put some nice stripes on the side. There's place on the right, on the back to write. And this will all fold down to go into an envelope to send to your recipient, then pop right back up when they're ready to display it on the fireplace. Let's look at some of the others we made. Here's the stag. Love him. It's beautiful. Here's the kitty. And the dragon. Okay, let's put one of those together so you can see how it's done. I'll start by popping my pieces out. I need all of the pieces off this sheet. You'll notice I'm kind of popping them forward because even though they're really well die cut, if I pop them to the back, it's possible that you can get a little snag in the front of your card. And if I get a snag, I'd rather it would be in the back. And in this case, yes, they did. They actually die cut the ends of these little strips this time. Okay, well, while we were gone, I went ahead and folded my cards. So I'm just going to take the Moonlight side, this side with the box around it. This is where you're going to write your greeting. So the Moonlight side, fold these in, fold the little flaps down. So we're kind of creating the basics of our box. You can see that I've already put tape on the two sides. Now in this case I'm using red liner tape, and the reason for that is that the seams in this card are going to take some stress when we fold those down flat and bring them back. So I think that it just stands a better chance of staying taped over time if we use the heavy duty tape. So I have the red liner on here. I've also put red liner tape on the backs. The silvery side is the front. Put some red liner tape on the back of my little strips. And I folded my acetate. The acetate is two-sided. It's not a disaster if you use it from the wrong side, but you can tell the difference. This is just a little bit duller in color, and this is super bright from the front side. And we're going to crease along the fold line. Get a good, nice crease there because we're going to have these standing at a 90-degree angle. Crease it. And then put your tape on the outside because it's going to be attached to the box like this. Okay? So we're ready to start assembly. One more thing we need to do. We're going to pop out the center of this frame. Now, one of the things many of you would find confusing is, what do you do with this piece? And the answer is you put it with your other card supplies that's not used in this card. But one of the things Hunkydory does that I really appreciate is they don't waste space by just giving you a blank or something there. They actually put a pretty piece in there that we can use on another project. So we're just going to put this one off to the side for now, and we're going to construct our box. We'll begin. In my case, I'm using the castle. But whatever your specialty image is, whether it's the castle or the dragon or the fairies or the cat or the stag, whichever one you're using goes in the back, at the back of your card. Facing like a little table. It has the sides down and the table is up. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this just above my crease line. Right here above my crease line. So it'll be up about that high. And now I'm going to place my other one. I'll show you why I do that in a second. I just think it's a little easier. Now I'm going to place my other one right above that. And I'm going to leave a little gap from the, oops. I'm going to place it right above my other one, just a little, maybe an 1/8 inch space between the two and an 1/8 inch between where I am and the fold line, just for a little bit of added dimension. And the next thing we're going to do is attach these to the other side of our card. Now I had you wait to attach the second side, and the reason for that is that this card is going to fold. Just fold it over my tape. This card is going to fold to go in the envelope. And what I want to do is allow that a little space to go in the envelope. So I'm going to lay it down flat, and I'm going to tape that once again right above that line. But I'm laying my card flat to make that happen. And what that's going to allow me to do is to fold that more easily. I have the give I need for it to fold, if you see what I'm doing there. I'm going to peel my second piece. And I'm just going to do the same thing. Now, do you have to do this laying down? No, you don't. I just found it easier to get the cards to fold properly, to lay in the envelopes if I fold this down when I'm assembling the card. You can see my spacing is just the same as the other side. It works out to be just the same, but I end up with a nice flexible box for laying that frame down. Okay, I'm going to peel these top strips. You can see this is actually quite an easy card to do, other than the little tricks of getting it to fold flat. It's actually a really easy card. But they're pretty, aren't they? And I'll put my frame right over my tape, matching my corners. And matching my other side. And we have the basics of our little box. And our box will fold nicely. I'll take the strips off the back of my decoration strips here. I'll put those right here on the side. Just add a little glitz to the side of our box. I'll come over here. Add a pretty little strip to the other side. If you have trouble taking the liner off your tape, try using the sharp tip of your scissors to get under there. Sometimes that can really help to pry that up. Okay, there we go. And finally, I'm going to use a little glue dot to put on my greeting. Now they give you 3 different greetings. I have, for this card, I have to someone special, sent with love, or magical birthday wishes. I'm going to use the birthday because these cards are going to be gifts to my family members. I give all of my cards in big collections to my family at Christmas time, and then they give them out to all their friends throughout the year. It's a very popular gift with my family, and they tell me they want more birthday cards than any other. So I'm going to put a little magical birthday wishes up here in the corner, and just that fast we have completed our card. There's our front, our side, writing on the back, and I still have one more to complete. This card kit makes 6 of these pretty foiled box cards. Okay, the first of our 8 topper sets is called Mystical Nights. Look at this beautiful island scene and the reflection in the water. In a way, this kind of reminds me, these trees remind me of the trees in the movie Avatar, if you've seen that. They're kind of little floating islands, but I think it's really pretty. Look at those beautiful purples and pinks. Gorgeous. Here's one of our cardstock pieces. This is our foiled card. Now in this kit, they've done the foiling in black foil. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. I hope so. That you can see the shiny black. That's why I think the mirror board works so well with these cards. So there's the foiled card. And look at that. Isn't that just spectacular? Beautiful, bright, pretty colors. Let's see what we did with it. Don't get too far with that. Okay. The first of my little topper sets uses a piece of that beautiful card we just looked at. It uses a 5x5 card. Now you'll notice in this one we actually left a little 1/8 inch, maybe, 1/8 inch border of our white card showing. We thought that looked really nice with the moon in the card to leave just about an 1/8 inch there. So we cut this just slightly smaller than 5x5 and layered our card with a piece of that beautiful cardstock. Then we used this 3-piece topper. You can see it actually has an outside frame, an inside frame piece, and the inside image. And we popped out the outside, we put it up on some foam tape. Then we popped out that inside frame and we glued that down to the card. Then we put some foam tape under the centerpiece. And isn't that a nice effect? You just get a really pretty dimension there. And we lined our cards with the inserts. This little black leaf is cut out of black mirror board using one of our leaf dies from our store. We use several different leaf dies throughout here, and you could really pretty much use almost anything you have, but I'll identify the ones we use just in case they're of particular interest to you. Our little topper says happy birthday to you. First one. Our next one also comes from that topper sheet. Here it is. And again, it's a 3-piece frame. Now, what Brittany did with this one was she took a piece of black mirror board and she embossed it in that Tide Holly embossing folder. And so you can't even really tell that's holly here. It just looks like a really nice background pattern. And again, we use that because many of you already own that embossing folder. If you don't, we do have them available in the store. We used a 3-piece frame again and did exactly the same thing. We separated the 3 layers. We put the first outside layer up on foam tape. We glued the second layer down to our card. We put the 3rd layer on foam tape and just backed it with that mirror. And isn't that pretty? And here's the insert that matches that. Absolutely stunning. Here's another one. This one, that is not the case. That's actually, this one is a cut down page out of our Hunkydory, a little book of, hand me that book if you would, please, honey. Out of our little book of Twilight Kingdom. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but I strongly recommend this book with this kit because the images, as you can see, are just as bright and vibrant and beautiful in the little book pages as they are in the kit themselves. And remember, with one of these, you get 144 images that are approximately 4x6. You can be making cards until the cows come home with this beautiful kit. Now in this case, I think we cheated and we actually used a piece of cardstock from one of the other sets where we didn't use all of it. But isn't that a beautiful effect? We take this dark topper, combine it with that bright, pretty background and the border that was already there, bring in that leaf, and it's just so pretty. Here's another one off the topper sheet that's just done on a shaped card. I believe we have these shapes in the store, and I know many of you have purchased them before. And all we did was just glue our embossed mirror down to the card, and then we followed around the edge with our scissors to get that shape. And isn't that pretty? All we've done in this case is we did take that topper and we mounted it on a piece of white cardstock, and then we put it on the black just to really make that image pop, and I think that was successful. On the inside, we used a nice piece of our insert. Now you'll notice in this one we put some glitter stripes here. That's a beautiful accent. It's also a wonderful way to hide any imperfections in lining up our insert. So isn't that beautiful? Now, what we've done here is just put down a nice wide piece of tape. We shake our glitter right out on the double stick tape, rub it in good, shake it off, rub it off with a Swiffer to pick up any of your extra glitter, and it just turns out beautifully. Gorgeous. Okay, this one comes from this piece of our topper, and you can see all we've done is cut that to size, put it on a 4x8 card. On the 4x8 card, I did back it in black Maryboard. You can see that finish there around the edges, and it exactly matches the foiling. And then, just for fun and interest, I ran a nice wide piece of double stick tape, and I put glitter on it. On the inside, I've cut an insert to fit, and I've used that leaf. Very pretty. Here's another sheet out of our little book. In this case, I've mounted that sheet on white cardstock, and then I mounted it on black so I get kind of that double matting look. I mounted it on a piece of cardstock out of the Adorable Scoreable Twilight Kingdom Adorable Scoreable pack. Obviously, I could have done this on a solid sheet of cardstock, so don't be worried if you don't get one of those variegated packs. This would also be beautiful on solid. And we took some skinnier tape, like that red liner tape I was using just a minute ago. We just ran a couple diagonal stripes just for interest. Glittered those and put our topper right over the top on some foam tape. And isn't that pretty? That's right out of the book. This one didn't get an insert because with 56 cards, one pack of inserts didn't take us all the way through, so a few of these aren't going to be lined. Here's another one right out of the book. And in this case, we took the topper sheet. I love this saying. If kisses were leaves, I'd give you a forest. If love was water, I'd give you an ocean. Isn't that beautiful? And all we've done is covered our card. In this case, we used a 5x7 card. We mounted that little book page onto some black Mary card, just left about 1/8 of an inch of border, and mounted it right onto our card. And didn't that turn out pretty? And here's a specialty card that Brittany did, and we both really liked the way this worked out. Again, people are always saying, Debbie, what do we do with the little pieces? And we actually had another idea in mind when we started into this, and this card just kind of developed. And I love the way it turned out. She's taken a panel card and decorated the two outer panels with those narrower images. She brought a couple of our leaves in from the side, and then, just for fun and interest, she ran some glitter stripes up the inside. And didn't that turn out pretty? And then we have a nice place to write on the inside. But I think that's just really attractive. Good job, Brittany.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for this set. Next, it's time to look at some dragons. These dragons set is called By the Moonlight, and they are just so striking. Done in that red and pink and black with the black foiling. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. We've got the dragon, we've got a small dragon, we've got For You, we've got Happy Birthday to You. I love this. Those who do not believe in magic will never find it. We've got a little partial moon, another dragon by moonlight, and the word love, as well as this beautiful border. It was not difficult to use all these pieces. Look at this one. Oh my gosh. It's no wonder the kids went crazy. Look at that beautiful dragon in the meadow. Oh my gosh, so pretty. And then we've got this bright, beautiful cardstock. I know some of you grandmas out there are thinking, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with all those bright colors? I'm going to show you. We have some fun things. Okay. This was fun. We did a couple of aperture cards here, and I'm excited to show them to you. In this case, we took a 6x6 card. I covered it in that pretty paper where the dragon's standing in the meadow. I then opened it up and I cut a hole through both pieces of the cardstock and popped that out. Then between the card and the cardstock, I put in one of those pieces of sparkly acetate. In this case, because it was a dragon and we'd have all the ash, I used these black stars. And then I put the two outer pieces of the frame on top of the acetate on the outside of the card, and I put the center inside the card. Didn't that turn out fun? I just love that. Look at the depth you get with that image. It's so pretty. Fun. It sounds complicated. It was actually not so bad. Here's another one we did with the dragon. Another 6x6 card. These are big images in this particular set. So we actually only got three cards out of this set. We were just commenting. That's unusual for us. And look what I've done with this one. In this case, I took my 6x6 card, I covered it in black mirror board, then I cut a piece just slightly smaller than 6x6 of the bright red cardstock. I put that in the center. Then I put the inner circle of the two around the outside, and I glued my dragon. Both of those are glued flat to my cardstock. Then I cut a piece of acetate that was large enough to cover the face of my card. Again, I used that black sparkle or ash colored acetate. I made it large enough to cover the whole outside of my card. And then I put the outside border on the outside of the acetate. It just gives extra dimension. Now, anytime you use acetate, one of the questions you come up with is how do you hide the attachment? Because the glue or tape will usually show through the acetate. So in this case, I ran a piece of tape across the top of my card. I rubbed my acetate down there and held it tight. Then I put a border over the top of that with just putting a piece of tape across the back of my border strip to anchor that in place. That acetate's not going anywhere, but it's kind of a fun look just to leave it loose. And then I put For You on the outside just for an extra touch. On the inside, we're wishing you all the best. I cut some tape and ran some tape around that just because I thought it could use a little extra accent. And there we go. Second dragon. Third dragon, much simpler design. It didn't need much. Where did that cardstock go? Here it is. Here's the corner of my cardstock sheet, and I literally just took a 4 4¼ by 5½ card. I made this a 1/2 inch smaller, so it'd be 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and cut that piece right out of the corner there. Mounted it on top, put this little label on some foam tape, done. I just didn't think it needed anything else. It was beautiful. And this is that those who do not believe in magic will never find it. And there's the matching topper inside, or insert inside. Isn't that pretty? Dragons are done. Next we feature fairies in a kit called The Secret Garden. And you get lots of nice images in here, so as you know, you're going to get some nice cards out of this one. Here's our corner treatment on this one. We have pretty foiled meadow here. Let's see what we did with it. We'll start with this one. Brittany took that nice oval piece and made a center step card. She simply took a piece of that background and covered the front piece of her card. Then she trimmed out these edges. She took a piece of green and ran it down behind there. Put her topper up on some foam tape. Added her little greeting and a couple rhinestones, and I think that's very pretty. Now here's a simple one. In this one, we glued the frame flat to the card, right along the edge, right along the folding edge of our card. And then we put the inside of the topper up on foam tape. Then we took scissors and followed around the card. And we created that nice art-shaped card. Isn't that pretty? So simple. and so effective. It's just a really nice look, and it's so quick and easy to do. Another one. These are popular with my family, so I didn't mind making a couple of them. Here's a little 4x6 card. We've done exactly the same thing. I just explained how to do that. The only caution is make sure you get it close enough to this edge and that you don't cut into the fold of your card when you're cutting it out. And it just turns out so pretty. Quick and easy. Here's one we did using one of those little toppers. Again, a perfect example for what to do with one of those little toppers. Here's my corner of that cardstock. Again, I've taken a 5x5. I covered it in black Maryboard. I cut this just slightly smaller than 5x5. I mounted it on top of the black. I added some foam tape to the back of this little arched piece. And in this case, I added 3 rhinestones to the top and the bottom because I thought it just needed a little more bling. But isn't that pretty? On the inside, we used a piece of that meadow from the insert sheet. It says "Sent with Love." I just love that. Okay, here's one you're going to like. This is a page out of our little book of Twilight Kingdom. We've mounted it on a piece of teal cardstock from the 50 Shades of Mary Festive Pack. And put that up on some foam tape and put it right on the card. Now, our background piece in this case is one of the pieces of Adorable Scorable for the Twilight Kingdom. Once again, you can see that you could get a very similar effect with a solid color sheet. We ran 2 thin tape lines across the bottom, rubbed our glitter in, and really burnish that glitter with your finger, then wipe it off with your Swiffer so it picks up all the extra glitter pieces. And in this case, we used one of our double stick butterflies. We just stuck it down to the sheet. In this case, I did not add center pieces. I could have done teal or any other color in these openings if I'd chosen to do so, but I just kind of liked the silhouetted effect on these particular cards, so I only did them in silhouette. But made a beautiful sparkly butterfly, and it was a quick and easy card, but isn't it beautiful? And again, look at the vibrancy of that little book of imagery. It's just beautiful. There's my inside. Gorgeous. That's it for the fairies. This time we're going to look at some beautiful Pegasus. Aren't they pretty? You can get 2 good-sized cards out of this topper sheet. They're unicorns. You're right. My husband just corrected me and said they're unicorns. Sorry, you get 2 beautiful unicorns in this sheet. I didn't promise to be great on my mythical creatures. Beautifully foiled leaves. This is what actually gave us the idea for the leaf dies, is these pretty leaves on this one. And these forest scenes, how could you not add some leaves to cardstock with those beautiful forest scenes? Let's see what we did with them. Here's our first card. I've taken a 5x5 card. I've cut this piece right out of, actually here, on that background cardstock. And all I did with this one was I used the piece that we popped out of the center when we made our box cards and the little happy birthday off the topper sheet. Both of those are up on foam tape, and isn't that pretty? It's just stunning, and that's all I did. And many happy returns on that card. Here's another unicorn. Note how I got it right this time. Okay, in this case, I have used a 5x7 card. This is a page out of my little book of Twilight Kingdom. In this case, I put that on a piece of, you'll see it's mounted right onto Black Mary. Then I used a piece of background cardstock that's just slightly wider than that, but matched with the colors. And I left it extra wide at the bottom, and I just thought it just looked really nice that way. And this little label says, "You make my life magical." And a little meadow on the inside. Isn't that pretty? Here's one of those big cards with the unicorn. In this case, I know this is kind of wild, but I actually used pink to cover my card, and then I spaced those out a little differently, but I like the effect that I got. It's pretty this way. It was also pretty this way, and I really liked it. By moving these right out to the corner, I also didn't have to do a lot of matching, which made it nice. That one didn't get lined. Here's another one. This is also out of our little book. You'll see we did a lot of little book cards. And on this one, I have mounted my paper on some Black Mary. I covered my 5x7 card in one of those variegated pink and purple pieces of cardstock from the kit. I added up on foam tape, Never Lose Your Sparkle, and I put my little book page and my mat on with some foam tape, so I actually have 2 layers of foam tape on this card. Then I still had quite a lot of space left, so I took a thin line and a thick line of tape and ran up the side and a thicker line across the top. And then, just for fun, because I was really into glittering, I added a little glitter to the horse, a little glitter to the fairy, and a little bit of glitter to the trees and vines around, just for fun. This is also a topper from the Little Book of Toppers, and I've cut it down to fit this card. I mounted that on some black mirror board. I mounted that, I covered my card with some black mirror board on a 6x6 card. I cut my cardstock to slightly smaller than 6x6 to let that mat show. I put it up on some foam tape, and that's all I did because the images kind of spoke for themselves. And here's the final image. And what Brittany did with it was to use a big, bold, pretty piece of background cardstock, and she spaced these out around the oval. She did not choose to use the ring that could have been in here. Instead, she decided to leave the space and have that space kind of match the dimensions around the rest. And then, again, she just wanted some special effects here, so she ran some nice wide pieces of tape and burnished some glitter into those places, ran on the extra little piece of tape right across the top. That, by the way, is a superb way to hide if you have a little extra white showing across the top of your card and you want to make that go away. A piece of glittered tape is a perfect way to do that. But didn't that turn out stunning? I just love that. And she put "Especially for You" on it and lined it "Magical Birthday Wishes." That's the unicorns. Next, we're going to look at swans and castles and carriages in our fairytale castle topper set. You got those beautiful tones of lavender and purple. Isn't that pretty? Lots and lots of fun images to work with. Got this beautiful purple to violet color, and this really nice foiling with 2 borders. I love this mountain scene. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, so I'm really partial to those big tall trees and mountains. It looks like our part of the world other than the castle. Let's see what we did. This image actually came out of the Little Book of Twilight Kingdom. I've mounted it on a piece of black mirror board. Brittany laughed at me because every time I pulled one out of the book I said, "This is gorgeous, but it really needs a black mat." She said, think about all these beautiful colors you have in this 50 festive shades of Mary. And I said, yes, they're gorgeous, and I'm going to mat it in black. I actually took this piece of cardstock that I had left over from one of the other sets that we looked at. The first set that we looked at, I had this piece left, and I thought it just looked beautiful with the swans and the castle, so I used that here. Then the matching insert, Have a Magical Day. Here's that mountain. And I just kind of thought we really needed to show off those trees and that mountain, so I didn't add a great big topper to this one. I really liked the images on the cardstock, so what I did instead was I mounted my cardstock directly to a 6x6 card. I added my glitter strips around the edges. I added 3 little double stick butterflies, and I burnished glitter into all of those. And then I just added my Lots of Love with the swans in the lake. And I love this card. I think it's beautiful. And I just put a real simple insert in. Here's the castle off the corner of my piece of cardstock. I've covered a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 an A2 card with black mirror board, and I cut that corner piece slightly smaller, mounted it on there, and did absolutely nothing to it because I just thought the image itself was stunning, and added the same image off the insert sheet. Isn't that pretty? This one looks like Cinderella's headed for the ball. I used a pretty piece of that lovely border, foiled border strip. Just added that oval shaped topper right off the topper sheet with some little foam squares behind it. Used a couple little pieces of die cut foliage, and I just didn't think it needed anything else. I thought it was really pretty. I covered the inside, and I put I had a little piece of that border left and didn't want to waste it, so I put it on the inside. Here's our big topper off the topper sheet. It looks a lot like the page from the little book, but this is actually on heavier card, and it's from the topper sheet. Brittany used that same pretty piece of background paper with that beautiful foil border. She used the Magical Birthday Wishes greeting off the topper sheet and mounted her topper with foam squares as well as the Magical Birthday with foam squares. It just didn't need anything else. It just was beautiful just like that. And then put a matching insert on the inside. Isn't that pretty? This one was fun. We had this little tiny topper. I'm not even sure if you can see how small it was. You can probably see it on the topper sheet. Yeah, we have this little topper. And I was looking at that thinking we should be able to do something really fun with that. So what I ultimately decided to do was to take a card, an A2 card, whoops, better if you don't drop it. And I covered my card in silver Mary board. And then I cut a piece of black mirror board. Big surprise to Brittany. I cut a big piece of black mirror board, and so I ended up with this pretty silver edge around the outside and black sitting on that. Then I put the topper way up at the top of the sheet, and what happens is the bottom of that topper just kind of disappears into the black mirror board. So I put the pretty piece of acetate out of the Twilight Kingdom acetate kit, and it looks like it's off in the distance, the carriage is going across the hillside, and we have this beautiful foiled meadow in the foreground. And then I used this little border piece that we had left over, and I did the same thing here that I said I did before. I put a piece of tape just below the silver. You can see it where my mirror board is here. I put a little piece of narrow tape right below my silver. I put my acetate on, and then I ran a little thin piece of Black Mary over the top of that to anchor that acetate. It's not going anywhere. It's there nice and firmly, but it gives it a nice effect. And when you don't anchor the acetate down, it just kind of gives a little bit of extra depth and interest to your card. And that one, we ran out of inserts. This meadow scene called Moonlight Wishes has a lot of big, beautiful toppers on it. So we did some fun things with that. Look at those bright fuchsias and pinks and purples. Beautiful in the silhouettes. This one's a little bit hard to see perhaps on camera, but it's really pretty. It's done in deep browns and grays with black foiled dandelion. That's pretty. And then you've got this super bright, looks like sunset in pinks and purples and stars and the moon and silhouetted. Very pretty. So let's see what we did with them. Okay, here's this piece. I used the dandelion background, covered a 6x6 card. I used all 4 of these pieces on my card. Then I used one of the little images in the center just to kind of add interest. Put some rhinestones at the top and the bottom. And I used this pretty little border piece from over here along my edge. And I really like the way that looked. I have a tip for you here. Sometimes it can be difficult to work out the spacing when you're using more than one topper. What I did is I popped all these out, then I took some stencil tape and I cut the frame out. I taped my frame temporarily in place on my card topper. I glued my toppers through the holes in what was like my stencil, and then when I was done, I peeled the outside off and these were perfectly positioned. So there's a thought for you. It's a real time saver instead of trying to do all that matching. And then the dandelions inside. Pretty. I love the way this one turned out too. We used a piece of that meadow background covering a 5x7 card. We added this topper up in the corner. Then we when we covered this, we left the side open, untaped on the side. We scored our acetate and we put tape on it. We slid that acetate between the 2 layers and then seal it down good. So our anchor for the acetate in this case is the front between the cardstock and the card base. That acetate is anchored in place. Didn't that turn out pretty? I love the way it kind of encircles the topper. We have a similar treatment on this one. In this case, Brittany used 2 topper pieces on a 6x6 card. I love the way that, oops, no, this one was mine, I guess, because Brittany did the next one. I love the way this corner treatment just kind of brings the whole card together. When you first look at it, you think, well, that's an odd thing to put with these toppers, but it really goes well. And all we did was just anchor these directly to our card. Once again, we cut a piece of acetate that was 6x6. We ran a piece of tape across the top of our card. We anchored the acetate, then we anchored that whole thing down with this piece of border. And in this case, we put the accents on the top. So we have the accents on your special day, the dragonfly, and the rhinestones on the top of the acetate. Just a really nice look. And some more of that dandelion insert paper. Finally, I love this card. It was so simple and so pretty. Brittany took a piece of dark purple from the 50 Shades Festive Mary and covered an A2 card. She used that fun corner piece we talked about, and she overlapped this little image slightly and put her greeting up at the top. It doesn't have a lot on it, but isn't it striking? It's very, very pretty. And then she put a little border piece and ran a little sticker up the inside. She actually used two separate inserts here and joined them with her sticker. I thought that was really pretty. That's it for those. This next set is called At the Bottom of the Garden, and we have these little flower fairies sprinkling their pixie dust all over the place. Believe in fairies who make dreams come true. Make a wish, special friend. With love, have an enchanting day, and have a magical birthday are our greetings. And we have all these fun little toppers. Look at those bright, pretty colors. Isn't that gorgeous? Oops, we had those fairies dancing on their heads. And then we've got the flowers sprinkling the little fairies. And this really pretty teal background paper. Let's see what we did with it. Here's that large topper set with the frame. In this case, we have separated the three pieces of the frame, glued the center section right to the card, put this in the inside and the outer frames on foam tape, and put a little with love on it. Just didn't need anything else. It's so pretty. Sending birthday magic on the inside. This is one of Brittany's creations I just thought was stunning. Again, we get so many questions. What do you do with the little toppers? Well, look what Brittany's done here. From one of the cards that we created, she actually had this circle, this mirror board circle cut out, and it was a scrap. She put that in the center. She layered her two smaller toppers and the Have a Magical Birthday sentiment that actually was off one of the other kits in the center. Brought leaves in from the sides. And isn't that just beautiful? I love the balance. I love the colors. I love the use of what would have been throwaway materials. It's just excellent. I love it. Here's another one we did with leftovers that I thought was just great. We didn't always use the center piece of the frames, and these two, the circle and the square, were centers we did not use. You know, when we have the three layers of the frame, we have that outer layer, we have a center layer. Some of the centers were just black, and we didn't use all of those. And we had those two left over, and they were in our bag of leftover pieces, and I saw those two pieces in there. I thought, wouldn't those be pretty just layered up? And we used a little one of our toppers in the center with some of those leaves. Isn't that pretty? It's so simple, but it's just really pretty. And to someone very special. Liked it. Oops. Here's that side piece that's on the pretty cardstock. Just cut it and put it on a 4x8 card. Put a little sentiment there up on foam tape. I think you did this one, didn't you, Britt? Yeah. Isn't that pretty? Simple, very effective. Matching insert. Very, very pretty. Here's another one of our little sentiments, and I like this. This is similar to what I did on the other cards. I won't go through tremendous detail other than to say I've taken, I think this is a US size A6, 5 by 6.5, and covered it in silver, cut a piece of black, slightly smaller, added my topper, used that beautiful piece of foiled acetate over the top of that. I've already explained how I anchor it and then cover it with, in this case, I didn't have enough borders, so I just used a little piece of that black mirror board. Disguises the tape beautifully, and isn't that pretty? Just love that. Okay, here's two more. We had this black acetate out of the kit, and we looked at that and we weren't sure what to do with it until we held that acetate up over this piece of cardstock, and it became immediately apparent what we wanted to do, that we wanted to layer it over this cardstock. So that's exactly what we did. I'm just going to show you both these cards at one time because I've done exactly the same thing in both of them. In both cases, I have covered this is an A5 card, so that's a big card. I covered an A5 card in my cardstock to split it between the two cards. I took a sheet right out of the little book of Twilight Kingdom. I covered my card with a piece of that acetate. I hid my adhesive under a strip of black mirror board. Exactly the same thing here. In this case, I happen to have added a greeting, but it's exactly the same process. And didn't those turn out pretty? They're big, beautiful cards. This was the first kit that Brittany and I worked on, and you're going to see that we both love cats, we both love deer, and we got a little carried away on the number of kits we made out of this particular style, but boy did we have fun with it. This one's called One Enchanted Evening. You have this beautiful cat sitting on a limb looking up at the birds. You've got a stag in the forest, and it's got wonderful borders and greeting strips and fun stuff to go with it. We have another wonderful scene with the cat in the corner, and you know what we're going to do with that. And then we have this beautiful background scenery from the forest. Let's take a look at what we did for cards. Here's the stag right off the topper sheet. He's done in a three-piece frame. This is a 6x6 card again. We've split the frame. We have the outside frame up on foam tape. We've glued the center frame down to our card. And we've got the inside up on some foam tape with a little greeting, wishing you a wonderful day. It's striking, it's beautiful. Next, love this one. This piece is the piece we popped out of the center of the little acetate box cards we did first on this video. And it gives you a choice between using a foiled side or an unfoiled side. We thought the unfoiled side looked better on this card, so we used the unfoiled piece. Brittany just covered her rocker card base in some blue, in some deep blue Maryboard, and anchored her cat to the top of that, then cut some little leaves and hung those leaves down around the base to kind of match the theme of her card. And you'll remember, am I still in frame, Brittany? Mm-hmm. Okay, you'll remember that these cards rock. Isn't that pretty? I love that. Make sure you don't get your leaves down to where it interferes with the card's ability to rock. But isn't that fun? And she actually, we didn't put a liner in that one. You can line those if you want to. Okay, our next one here is an easel card that Brittany made. Making an easel card gives a really fancy impression, but it's a fairly simple process to do. She used a 5x5 card, and she scored that 5x5 at 2.5 inches. Then she cut a 5x5 piece of mirror board, cut it in half, so it's 2.5 by 5, and covered both flaps of that, both sides of the fold on the front. Then she took her topper sheet, this is actually out of the corner of the cardstock, and she cut a piece of mirror board to mat that on. And she cut that slightly smaller than her 5x5 so that when it's laying down, it looks like it has a nice black mat and a silver mat than her topper, which is really pretty. And this is up on foam tape. On the inside of the card, she covered it with an insert sheet. She took a border piece and put it up on foam tape to be the stopper so that you can take this card, fold the front, and it stands up like that and makes a pretty easel. Isn't that pretty? And fairly simple to do, but it's just really impressive looking. I love the way she did this one. I think this ends up looking like an old vinyl record. What she's done here is taken a 6x6 card. She's covered it in black Mary board. She's taken those corner pieces and brought them clear out to the corners, leaving a nice wide black circle here. Her frame was actually in 3 pieces. She had this outer piece, an inner circle that was black. You actually saw that on one of our prior cards because we didn't use it. And we saved that piece, and that became part of another card. And then her insert in the center. This is up on some foam tape, as is her best wishes. Now with the best wishes, she has 1 piece of foam tape under this side, so she's got 2 pieces of foam tape on the outside to keep that topper straight. On the inside, she's got a matching insert. Isn't that cute? I really love that card. Here we've got one of our sheets from our little book of Twilight Kingdom. We've mounted the topper, or the sheet, on a piece of black mirror board. And all we've done is covered a 5x7 card in this pretty card stock with the border treatment. It was actually left over from one of our other kits, and it just looked great with this, so we used it for this card. Here's another sheet out of our Twilight Kingdom little book of toppers, and we pulled this one out. We mounted it on black mirror board. Most of these just look great on black mirror board. It gives them a really finished look, as well as giving you something more sturdy to mount to your card. We put foam tape behind it, and we just used the glitter lines. We did not cover this one with cardstock. We thought it was really pretty with the white, bringing out the white in the stars and the moon. But isn't that pretty? Little glitter lines there. Here's another one. This one's using the pop out of one of our little acetate kits. We're using the stag piece from that and a little circle. In this case, we've covered the 4.25 by 5.5. That's an A2 card. We've covered it with a slightly smaller piece of cardstock with that pretty foiled border. And we've used the silver side that shows the silver foiling on the ring with the silver foiling on this ring. And isn't that beautiful? One more here from this kit. This one, I did this one to show that you don't have to use the entire sheet from the little book of Twilight Kingdom. I actually cut about a 1/2 inch, maybe even 3/4 of an inch off this to make it look nice on a 4x8 card. And all I've done here is to use my piece of cardstock, cover my card. I cut this one down to fit and mounted it on a piece of black mirror board. And then I added a couple of glitter stripes just to really kind of bring in some additional sparkle and accents. And I love the way that card turned out. Very, very simple and inexpensive to make. Now I want to show you one more that I just missed getting in when we looked at the fairy cards earlier. We were having a debate about whether these are fairies or pixies, and we've decided we really don't know. We're going to have to Google it when this is over and see if we can figure it out. But this was one of Brittany's creations, and I just love the creativity of it. Brittany's used a flower card. We have a variety of different flower bases in the store. And she has popped out the little cutouts. These are all little cutouts that they're already die cut. You just pop those out. She has mounted her topper sheet onto a piece of, you can see it there, the green foil board. And then she's covered that in acetate. And she's put that behind here. Her acetate is just slightly wider than this inside circle. And she's covered the whole inside of her card with that green mirror board. So she has a nice clean surface on the inside, but that acetate and the mirror board is actually kind of creating a little capsule for her topper sheet there. And then she couldn't find a cardstock that she really liked for the front, especially since it had all these little cutouts. So before assembly, she actually went through and sponged the front of this card and created this with color burst metallic. And we have those in the store. It's really a fun way to change the color of your white cardstocks, and they're a lot of fun to use. So kudos to Brittany for some real creativity on this card and bringing in some new techniques. I love that. I'll put this on the supplies list so you can take a look at that material and see what she's using. And then she put her insert on the inside and just followed the contours of the card to make that match. But isn't that creative? And I'm sorry I missed that first, Brittany, because it's one of my favorite cards that was done from this set. So this has been the Twilight Kingdom card kit. It's really a lot of fun. Highly, highly recommended. I think that you'll enjoy working on it, and certainly the teenagers in your life are going to enjoy either working on it or receiving cards from this kit, because it's really a lot of fun. This is Debbie from Simply Special Crafts, and we'll see you next time.